Is there still potential in the Adelaide property market? It's the question that anybody investing in that market, given it's seen 100 to 150% growth if you invested in 2021 or 2022, that's what you would have seen. We've got Jason on the show, and this is a conversation where we went around the grounds. He talked about where he's seeing opportunities, 500 to 700,000, 700 to 900,000. We talked about, well, why is Adelaide still booming? What is going on down in Adelaide? Because he is an expert with 10 plus, I think it's about 15 years experience in that property. He's an investor, he's a renovator, a sales agent, property manager, and soon to be auctioneer. So if anybody knows anything about Adelaide, he's one of the go-to people. And we had the conversation, and I think there were some spicy takes. There were some areas, some hidden gems that you may want to consider watching this and researching that market. What are the things that are happening in the property management space? Is there that opportunity as well? Developing, rooming house. This is the quintessential session. If you want to learn about Adelaide and where there's opportunity and what's going to happen over the next 12 to 18 months, this is one of the sessions you need to be watching. And we had the amazing Marci Wild on as a special guest co-host as well for this session. Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Miles, and together with Joe Tucker, we've created Australia's largest property investing Facebook community. We're now about 85,000 property investors. Now, each week we interview top property investment experts along the way, and we have, this week is no exception, we have Jason Wright from Harcourt's Essential. He is one of the go-to experts in Adelaide, and we had a special guest co-host, Marci Wild from Gambit Property Development as well. So everybody, let's dive in. We are live on Oz Property Investor. We're ringing the big names and we have the big fun. And guys, so much banter before about Adelaide. Can you buy 2 units in Sydney for 900,000? You could probably buy a parking lot. So sorry, I just had to bring it up, but it's going to be a big session. This isn't about, I'm not projecting my own Sydney desire. It's going to be about Adelaide tonight. It's going to be Adelaide is Queen. We have one of the queens of Adelaide, Marci, the developing, and we've got Jason, our amazing, you can describe yourself, Jason. Yeah. But no, it's going to be, well, Adelaide's been the talk of the town for the last 3 to 5 years. And I want to unpack, well, is there still opportunity? So, but before we do that, Jason, how are you going?
I'm excellent, buddy. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been fun hearing what you've been a big friend of the show and helped out Joe, of course. And just you're a wealth of experience and you tell an amazing story. So thanks for agreeing to come on. And I'm excited to hear what the buzz in Adelaide's still about. Marci, how are you going? What's happening?
Oh, I'm excellent. I'm super pumped. 4 to 9. So excited to be here, guys.
Yeah, you love Adelaide. So I thought if we're going to talk about it, we have to have Marci on the show. Joe will be back next week. I saw he's arrived. He's got his beard game strong. Jeremy and Iselle is excited about seeing the beard. So he'll be back next week. So it is going to be a big fun session tonight, though. And we're going to talk about some of the suburbs as well, where Jason sees some potential, maybe some concern, not major concerns, I don't think. But I'm interested to hear, we talked about it a little bit before, but first off, we're going to do this disclaimer. This is general nature, not taking into account your personal needs objectives. Go and speak to go and speak to your professional licensed advisors about this. We're not liable for anything action you take from this. So now we've done that, we don't need to do it 800 times more. So if you haven't seen Jason around, I don't know where you've been, but you are the sales director of Harcourt's Essential there, and you're a seasoned Adelaide operator, 15 years on the ground, investor, developer, renovator, negotiator as well. And now you're going to be, as of around May, you're going to be a licensed auctioneer as well. So I'm excited. That's a fun process. You've seen Adelaide through multiple cycles. You've got experience, Jason. How has Adelaide changed through the years for you?
It's been crazy, to be honest. I bought my first property when I was 19. Mum and I can't remember if I paid 42.3 or 43.2 for it. I sold it in December last year for $580,000, and that was the property that started the market. It was a tiny little duplex. We call them semi-detached housing trust houses. You guys call them duplexes. Tiny little 3-bedroom, attached on 600 square meters of land. If you'd told me that a house in Elizabeth North would ever be worth $500,000, I'd have asked you to share your drugs with me, if I'm honest with you. Because I just would never have seen that possible, not in my lifetime. I never thought that would be crazy. And I think Adelaide plateaued for so long. And when the market boomed, I think 3 things happened. The market boomed like it did across the country. But in addition to that, the other 2 things that happened is Adelaide had always sat so far behind the market, so it had to reset and catch up. And then, Joe, you and I, you may recall the very first time we ever chatted, which was almost before the boom or right at the beginning of the boom. Yep. The state government had changed our stamp duty laws, our land tax laws in and around entities. So I predicted that would create significant rent increases and significant booms in capital. And I think the 3 things combined have played an effect on how well Adelaide has performed and potentially the market leader in terms of capital growth.
Yeah, there we go. That's great insights. And Marci, what do you? I want to get your perspective as well, because I know you're the guest co-host tonight. But we'll also bring you along for the journey, because Marci, you are live, breathe, and dream probably Adelaide. Maybe not, but you tell me otherwise. But maybe. But what are your views, and how do you think Adelaide's changed in the last 5-ish years that you've roughly been there around that time? What have you seen happening in Adelaide?
Heaps. And I think it added to Jason's point. Definitely helps. I know this is not a metric that we should follow, like only population alone, but definitely the mass migration internally from different states, not only from migrants from overseas, but Australian-wise. They want to live in here, want to be able to afford this, beautiful life, more affordable at the time. It just pushed the prices super high. Everyone were able to get like a front beach for a quarter or half of the price in compared to Sydney or Melbourne. So why would you not do that? So definitely I've seen a significant change in people who wants to live here, that they come in Adelaide for work, and now they can go back. Even when Adelaide is too small to begin with, it seems like people are loving it.
It was beautiful, trust me, and probably still is. Sorry for those. I hope you don't attack me, right? But no, that's I agree. I was there around in March of 2020, and that was actually the last time I jumped on a plane. And to me, it very much you have all the amenities. You have a major sporting facility. You have nice bars and clubs. You have good sort of restaurants. You have all those things going on there. But you also have that smaller town. Maybe it's changed and maybe it was just COVID, but I felt that once you got outside the city centre, you really had there was just a country, not a country, but there was a friendly vibe to it versus some of the other capital cities that I've been to, Melbourne, Sydney, maybe in Brisbane these days as well. So that's my impressions of Adelaide, and yeah, I think it's a great place to get some roots, put some roots down. Gee, that's an interesting thing I've just said. So Jason, tell us, you are sort of on the coal face, and you see it day in, day out. What's happening with vacancy rates, how rents, and take us around the grounds. What's it looking like from a high level?
Look, when I always chat to you guys, people really love to talk north and south of South Australia more so than east and west. Like every other capital city across Australia, I find that the east is the affluent part, and therefore I don't love to talk about it because it doesn't yield for me the way that it should. Really hard restrictions in and around development roles. So I don't spend a lot of time there, but if someone threw a suburb into the question field, I'd certainly have an opinion on it. The west I like more than the east, because who doesn't love living near the ocean?
West is best, yeah.
The west is best, and the west has absolutely boomed in and around, particularly the Lefevre Peninsula. That's Largs Bay, Semaphore, etc., etc. My mum bought one street back from the beach in and around the beginning of COVID in 2020 for $875,000. Ocean views from upstairs, because she was one street back. We've just had that vow at 1.65, so she's doubled her money in 5 years. Wow. She's not heartbroken, of course. There's good, true, tested suburbs in the west that are being regentrified at the moment, such as West Lakes. West Lakes, particularly, is where the old Adelaide or Adelaide Crows Football Club was. They've pulled all of that down and turned that into a housing development where there's a lot of Torrens titled, I say townhouses, but they're all attached box gutters, but Torrens titled 2 and 3 level townhouses that are $1 million, which is a lot of money for what it is in all likelihood. However, West Lakes has always performed. Largs has a huge development going on, but I could never stop talking about north and south. So let's do that.
Just before we do, Jason, can I want a suburb? It's in the west, so I wanted to bring it up. Our friend Brazilian Apricot, and I think this person has accidentally put a nickname, but they have said that Rosewater. What's happening in Rosewater and Queenstown? Those sort of locations. Are you seeing? Because they're the can be rougher parts of the
Rosewater, and where did you say Edwardstown?
And Queenstown. So right sort of around it. Yeah,
sure.
Queenstown. Yeah. What do you think about those sort of pockets? How are they going these days?
Great question. So Rosewater, which has always just been off the pocket of Grand Junction Road, it's always been really rough. Like, it's really, really rough. Certainly, I would say the south side of Grand Junction Road is better than the north side. I went to an auction for a house years ago in Rosewater, and it was stunning. It was an old 1920s bungalow that had been fully renovated. I think it sold at auction for $535,000, and I thought that was just an obscene sum of money. Yeah. I, just out of interest, I ran it through RP Data or CoreLogic the other day, and the desktop val came in at $1,040,000. So $1 million in Rosewater is madness. But the good thing about Rosewater is you're 6 minutes, maybe 8 from Semaphore Beach, which is a great beach. You're really easy access to the north-south motorway, and we'll talk more about my passion around the north-south motorway in a moment. The really good access, really strong Asian community has always sat and lived around there, and that's only gotten better or bigger since the influx of immigration into Australia, period.
Yep.
Queenstown comes just off the back of Queenstown has come just off the back of Port Road and the Tapleys Hill Road intersection there. It's never been my favourite suburb, but it's the poor cousin, for want of a better word. The better performing suburbs in that section are Royal Park, Albert Park and Hendon. But the people that grew up in the West, because West is best, and they want to stay living near their parents, but they've had to make financial sacrifices. So Queenstown and Rosewater are for them, better to live there than have to go north or south.
Yeah, I love that insight from you, because that pretty much is the boots on the ground knowledge that I sort of, when I did a little bit of developing in the West, and you sort of, we talking to agents, that's definitely the impression you got. You had your nicer sort of parts, and this was in 2020. So agree with you. The thing that's we're going to talk north and south. So let's go to those. Before we do that, I want to know, what are you sort of seeing in terms of properties transacting? Are they selling before the first open home? Are you seeing multiple offers? Or give us some real world intel as to what's happening there.
Sure. My personal policy as an agent is I don't ever sell anything without a minimum of 2 open homes.
Okay.
So I'm a big believer of the first open home on a Saturday. You get buyers agents such as yourselves and developers such as Marci who come up with every excuse on the planet for why they can't get there on Saturday, and so they need to see it first, and they bully you into trying to get in early.
I don't bully anybody for the record, but I also don't practice for buyers. I mean, I leave that to the experts these days, Jace. I crunch the numbers for the folks.
Oh, good. The interesting thing for me is I'm still working for my client, and my job is to get the best possible price for my vendor. So I'm a big fan of I don't split my army. So I have one 30-minute open home. I never open 1 minute early from that open home. There could be 60 people waiting up the street. I won't open a minute early because you want to create the competition for your vendor. I don't run a 45-minute open home because then some people will come at 0:00 and some people will come 20 minutes past. I don't do a secondary open on a weekend because then half of them will come Saturday and half of them will come Sunday. So my job is to get as many people at an open home. If it is priced correctly, then we are still seeing somewhere between 50 and 70 people at an open home. If it's a entry level, so sub 700, sub 750, huge numbers. We had an open home at the weekend in a fast growing suburb called Anglevale. It's about 40 minutes from the Adelaide CBD, but really easy access on the north-south motorway. Huge houses out there for a brand new estate, 495 metre block. We put it on 799 to 849. I don't know if you were seeing the weather reports in Adelaide last weekend, but it was horrific. It was bucketing with rain. I thought we'd be lucky if 3 people came. We had 18.
Is it always raining in Adelaide, Jason? Mate, it's raining every 2 days down there. Like I remember when we were trying to. Yeah, was it beautiful? Tell us more. How did it go? How did the open go?
So we had 18 groups through that open home, plus I sent videos to 4 buyers agents interstate. For a house of that big at that price point, that's a really good turnout given the terrible weather. We've put that under contract this week at 905,000. So 55 above the top end of the range. That surprised us a little bit, but it was a super huge home, like really, really big home on a really big block. So we're still seeing people. Now, I've got another property contrary to that, which I'd given the advice to my vendor about a price guide. She really wanted to achieve a particular number, and despite the fact that her and I know each other exceptionally well and that she knows my strategy, she still went with a slightly different price point. We're about to do our 3rd open home this weekend. We've got offers in and around where I suggested they would be, and we're just going to try one more open home. The interesting thing is, if we had used my strategy, I think we'd have had 3 times as many people at the first open home. That would have created competition. Do I know that we'd have got a better number? No, I don't. But what I'm saying to people is, if you trust whoever your agent is, if you trust their opinion and do what's happening on the ground, then we can look you in the eye when we bring you an offer and say, we followed a strategy. We had 60, 70, 80 groups through over a 2-3 open period, and this is the best price in the market. Versus we used a different strategy. We've had 12 groups through over 2 opens so far. It's an offer that's a pretty good offer. Is it the best offer in the market? I don't know the honest answer to that.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, Jason, and I want to hear, Marci, we'll talk about north-south because you know probably the south pretty well. I don't actually know. I think you're in kind of, I won't dox you where you are. But yeah, the thing I'm hearing is that, yes, there is still significant interest in Adelaide, but it's not quite, you list it and they will come. It's kind of like you need to go in. And that's, as a buyer, maybe there's a little bit of window opportunity, but depends on, you need to be discerning, I feel, as an investor. I want to ask that question. But Marci, let's go to north-south, and I want to know about rents and all that. There's so many things I want to know, but Marci, take us into what you want to ask Jason about the north and south of Adelaide. What's going on in those pockets?
Yes, no, like what I've seen on the ground, south and north, is like buying through Jason is not going to happen. Selling through Jason is the best thing that is going to happen.
Okay.
So saying that, what I've seen, like when I'm trying to buy properties in north or south, which is the hottest spot at the moment in Adelaide, anything that is development potential or flipping or something that you can value add, those properties are flying off the shelf. And I would like to ask Jason, what is their opinions, especially up north? Because a lot of people will be scared. Supply is coming up north. It's gonna compress the prices. So I would like to ask you, what do you think about that?
Sure. It's a great question, Marci. And what I would say is that in the north, and you'll remember, if I take you back 3 or 4 years ago, Jeff, to the first time I appeared on the show, I never thought that Manapara West, Smithfield Plains, Andrews Farm would boom the way the rest of the state has. They have boomed, and there's 2 reasons. One, more importantly, is affordability. And whilst it's gone up crazy, it is still the most affordable part of the Adelaide suburban region to buy in, invest in, etc. It has the largest supply of tenants in the sector. Now, we are seeing a lull in rents as a result of that. And I would say, so this time 3 years ago, average rents in that region were about $385 a week. They're now in and around the $550 per week. For the first time in a very long time, we're having conversations with owners at lease renewal about not increasing the rent. And in some instances, if the tenant moves out, we might need to decrease the rent $10 to $20 a week in order to get a number. Now, and those people that have gone through the journey and have refinanced along the way to buy another property are really struggling with their yields. I'm just going to increase my brightness.
Yeah, I was going to say, you turn on the lights or?
Yeah, lights? Ironically, I have lots of lights on.
Oh, there you go. It's better. Look at that. Mate, it's magic. I think it's turned on a little. There you go.
That's so pretty. So now I've got a halo on my head. That's the creepy bit. So we've seen that slight reduction in rents. Okay. Now, on average along the Adelaide market, though, we're still seeing somewhere in the vicinity of 8,000 to 12,000 per month in capital growth when you average it out. When you and I last spoke, Jeff, we talked in and around percentages, and I've never been the guy that gets caught up in percentages like 12%, 13%. Like, it's just not my thing. I like to talk in real raw numbers, and real raw numbers, it's 8,000 to 12,000 a month. Now, to highlight that, I do have an example. Because where the significant part of our business is a property management style business, I am blessed that we have some stock in our portfolio that's what I like to call cookie cutter stock. So in February, so a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, double garage house built by Simmons Homes, I sold in February of 24 for $585,000. I sold the exact same floor plan in the same street in July of 24 for $622,000. Yep. I sold the exact same floor plan in the suburb next door in July of 2025 for $675,000. I sold the same floor plan again, same builder, suburb over, which isn't as good as the first suburb, for $720,000.
Jeez. Yeah.
And I've got one on the market right now with a price guide of $699 to $729 because it slowed down over the Christmas period. It will sell slightly above that ask, I suspect, but I don't want to put the mockers on it. But my first open is this weekend. I've already got 4 written offers inside the range from interstate investors.
So that's the thing I want to pull out, and I think this is not necessarily unique to Adelaide. I called it that Adelaide would be top 3 And you don't need to be a magician to do that. It could even be number one, but I think Brisbane, maybe Perth. I think you guys will be jostling out for top three. I don't think Sydney, Melbourne, and Canberra, Hobart, don't even bother these guys. Maybe Darwin, actually, but is Darwin even a capital city? It'll be somewhere around there. I'm sorry if I've offended everybody in Darwin. I love you guys up there. So Jace, I want to know what is actually driving this demand? Is it employment? Is it infrastructure? Is it lack of supply? Like, is it all the above? What are the things that's driving the Adelaide market at the moment?
Well, I think if you go back to the three that you've mentioned, which is Perth, Perth, Brisbane and Adelaide, and look at the aftermath of COVID. Pre-COVID, I said to friends that would listen that Melbourne's in trouble because Brisbane's about to take out the title for coolest city in Australia and it's going to leave Melbourne for dead. And that was before the Labor Party destroyed it. And sorry, I shouldn't get political.
Labor's in Adelaide, though, in South Australia as well, but they've done okay there. And WA.
Yeah, they've done okay. But in Victoria, I think it is no longer a cool city. So I think partly the reason those three are performing outside the rest of the country, and I've been to all major cities in Australia in the last 5 years, and unquestionably Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane are the coolest of the three cities. I think they've got really great livability. Even all three of them have really great access to cities, but let's talk specifically to Adelaide. I think what's happening in Adelaide is there's still an element of immigration that means that there are the less skilled workers that have no choice but to come to Adelaide. That plays a part. I think there's still the aftermath of the people that left, that were expats, that came home in COVID, that haven't, expats that left Adelaide or came back to Adelaide that haven't gone back overseas. They're still living here as well because they've struggled in Europe for years on end, and they've realised that it's still enough, even though it's expensive and cost of living is crazy in Australia, it's still a very livable and affordable place to live in the grand scheme of things.
It's just beautiful as well, I must say. Like I lived a little bit in Europe, but Australia, the living conditions are pretty good. Like you get the good weather. We
eat like kings, we live like kings, we've got easy accessibility to transport. We've got really decent infrastructure for the most part. We've got really beautiful scenery. Adelaide, I still believe with all my heart, apart from Tasmania, is one of the food capitals of Australia. I've always argued that you could build a brick wall around the border of South Australia, and apart from mangoes and bananas, like, we just don't need the rest of you. Like, we're self-sufficient. we produce the best lamb in Australia. We produce the best beef in Australia. We absolutely
some good wine as well.
Best wine in Australia. We've got the second best seafood industry in Australia. We're the largest producer of tomatoes, mushrooms. Like, we don't need the rest of you. Like,
and you think that I'm hard. You think that I'm hard in Adelaide. Here we are.
That's it. Yeah, I'm going to take us back to, because this is something that I think everybody thinks about and people get obsessed about it. Do we think the South will boom and with the development of the North-South corridor, Aldinga, Selix, it already has boomed. Like, even, I suppose, Christie's Beach, Seaford, all those sort of places. What do we think about that, Jason? What about the North because of the North-South as well?
Okay. Well, look, let's start with the North-South. So the North-South motorway is a piece of engineering genius, and I think at some point they're going to have to put a toll on it, but I think it'll never be a Labor government that introduces it. So I think it's not likely that a toll will happen anytime soon, and they'll be building that road well beyond my death. However, the pace of infrastructure that's happening along the North-South motorway right now is the Tonsley, which is where the old Mitsubishi factory was. So it's called the Tonsley to Torrens Tunnel. So anyone that's familiar with Adelaide, South Road, there are two, what's the word I'm looking for, Marci?
Motorways.
there are two road spots where it's dead. So in Marland and in Edwardstown, I apologise for my dog, guys.
Hello, bring him on the show. Bring her on the show. Yeah.
Teddy, in Marland and Edwardstown, there are two spots where the traffic just comes to a standstill, particularly around school hours. So once that tunnel goes entirely under all of that infrastructure and you can get from Tonsley Road to Torrens Road without a single traffic light, that will mean that for someone like me, I live in Bowden, which is very central to the city. My office is in Salisbury, which is 20 minutes north of my home.
Yep.
It means that I can get onto the north-south motorway. I'm in the Barossa Valley in under 35 minutes. I'm in McLaren Vale in under 40 minutes. Like, that's unbelievable. And the idea that a tourist could come to South Australia and go to a winery in McLaren Vale in the morning, be in the Barossa Valley for lunch, and then get back to the city by 5 o'clock is...
I booked my flight for tomorrow, Jason. Let's go. Let's go and have a live. You don't why not drink these days? But
yeah. Now, in further to your question, because of that piece of infrastructure, suburbs such as Aldinga, Sellicks Beach, Aldinga Beach, Moana, which were my dad and stepmom owned the Aldinga Hotel when I was a child. Aldinga was a country town. Like, you'd be lucky if there were 3,000 people living there. Now it's a sprawling piece of suburbia. And we're still seeing huge amounts of purchase on behalf of our clients out in that area. And the south is yielding fantastically, and almost everything's going at the first open home. So high rents because there's still limited amount of land, whereas because so much more is being built in the north, we are seeing an influx of investment property, which is reducing rent. And I think it's brought about by two things. One, the number of renters that are entering the first home buyer market, so therefore they're buying and leaving an empty house available for the rental market. And secondary to that is just because there's such a huge amount of available land, it's just being built out at a higher rate than the other parts of the state.
Yeah, yep. So opportunity, but just be a little bit mindful of that potential stuff coming on. I want to we'll talk about specific sort of areas. So I want to know where you see potentially some opportunities. Now, I know that you you're working up. Before we go to our first one, so I want to know what are the challenges or drawbacks in Adelaide, apart from, yes, rental yields aren't what they used to be. Is there anything else that's starting to concern you about the Adelaide market in general? Is there big supply in the north coming potentially? What's happening in Adelaide from a concerns perspective?
I think the biggest concerns in and around the Adelaide market are serviceability, and maybe you'll have some opinions on this, Jeff. Do you know what I mean? I think that the thing that's driving the market right now is the fact that everyone's buying in huge amounts, whether it be investors and or first home buyers. They're the two people that have driven the market for longer than I remember. You know, we're seeing a little bit of upsizes and downsizes, but for the last 3 to 5 years, it's really been investors and first home buyers.
Yep.
But with uncertainty around interest rates and uncertainty around rental yield, there is going to be a serviceability issue that's going to have to cap prices at some point in the not so distant future. Now, whether that means that people, to my point before, decide to wear the loss, you know, I would wear as an investor. The market's still performing at an $8,000 to $12,000 a month capital growth. I'll happily wear a $40 a week loss on my rent in order to gain $8,000 a month. Like, who's not taking that deal? As long as the bank says yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Actually, you sort of say, well, what becomes affordable? What sort of do people want to keep buying into these areas as an investor? Because the owner occupiers are still in there, of course, the first time buyers. But if the $900,000 cap, maybe that's sort of once prices in some of these suburbs start to get to that, maybe the people start to say, well, supply, maybe it becomes a more balanced market. Who knows? We're crystal balling here. But yeah, there's a great question. But we'll throw to our first sponsor, and then I want to ask a question. I want to bring Marci into the thing because you have so much knowledge about flipping and developing. So be prepared, Marci. I'm going to ask you a question. See you guys.
Everywhere you look, someone else is making money in property except for you. Your mate, he just bought a house. It's already gone up $100,000. There's some bloke on Facebook. He's bragging about pulling in a 7% rental yield. Meanwhile, you're stuck scrolling real estate and domain, confused as hell and having no idea about where to start. Or maybe you're that mate that's got $100,000 in equity. You have a few properties under your belt, but you feel stuck. You're unsure about how to scale without over-leveraging and not knowing what the next right move is. So why does it feel like everyone else has some kind of secret that you're missing out on? It's because they do. There's a reason some people keep stacking properties while others sit on the sidelines stacking excuses. There's a reason why some investors buy under market value while others pay too much. There's a reason why investors know the hot spots before there's any heat. And there's a reason that some people build $150,000 in passive income while others just spend years thinking about it. And it comes down to knowledge. And that's exactly why Jeff Miles and I, Joe Tucker, created the Level Up Property course to hand you the exact step-by-step process that we've used to buy over $100 million worth of property in today's market. We've built Australia's largest property investment community with over 80,000 members, and we help everyday investors secure hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, all without wasting years of their life trying to figure it out the hard way. Making an uneducated decision on the biggest purchase in your life is just gambling with your future.
Stop it. Get some help.
And this isn't just another how to buy property course. Let's be clear though, this course isn't free. What and neither should it be. This is our life's work. We've spent over 100 hours each on this course alone. Oh, babe. Okay, video number 3. Number 4 with million does... Fuck. Done. We've got decades of experience, millions of dollars in deals distilled into a repeatable process that you can take away for yourself. If you're looking for free advice, there's plenty of noise out there. You can go and find that if you'd like. But if you want real, actionable, step-by-step guided process that works in today's market, then this investment is going to change everything for you. By the time that you finish this course, you will have full confidence. You'll have every tool that you need to build an amazing portfolio if you act on it, right? Which is why we have mentoring built in. So we kick you up the butt to make sure that you're kicking your goals. So the real question is, how much longer are you going to watch everyone else making money in property before you jump in and start playing the property game properly? Because the sooner you start, the sooner you start winning.
There we go. Such a great, and Marci, thank you for being such an amazing member of that as well. Appreciate your help along the way. How are people feeling about Adelaide? Let's do a vibe check in the comments, people. If you're watching live and if you're not, there's been some great questions pop through as well, and we're going to get to some of the gems. I feel, and I want to throw a bit of a budget question to Jason, but first, I think this is one that maybe Marci could really. What suburb presents good opportunity for house flipping and rooming houses? Are you seeing where is there a particular suburb, Marci, where you can see that there's that arbitrage between like the buy price versus sell price? Is there any, or you can't share that because you don't want to create too much competition?
I will say south. I've seen a lot of flippers going there, but mostly at west, sort of like west, High Marsh, Croydon Park, all of those, like, little pockets in that area. You can get dilapidated houses, and this like, that's a lot of work because the type of people who lives there, obviously it's still gentrifying, like the gentrification is still happening. But definitely those are flipping and rooming houses are like going up. What I've seen, obviously outside of the CBD, but which capital city doesn't have a CBD with those characteristics?
Yeah, nice. And before we go to, I suppose, where you're seeing some opportunity, and I think I agree with you. I'm seeing some opportunities in houses that need a little bit of TLC in the West, Marci, as you say. I want to throw a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a.
I will add something really quickly to the
please.
Rooming house scenario.
Like
also in the West. I don't disagree with Marci's perspective at all. It's really great perspective. North and south, the flipping that occurs has hammerheading attached to it. So it's a subdivision / renovation at the front, sell off. But in the West, she's nailed it. She's nailed the suburbs. In the rooming housing situation, we're seeing suburbs like Sturt because of its close vicinity to Flinders University and Flinders Medical Centre. And then other suburbs in the West, such as Mansfield Park, Athol Park, we're seeing lots of converted 4 and 5 bedroom homes in that location. We, in fact, manage a couple in that location. Because, again, it's close vicinity to the city. And like I touched on before about Rosewater, it's a really strong Asian community. So lots of Asian students living in that area.
Yeah, nice. Great insights there, like on the ground. What I wanted to, you remember that, you seen much retain and build, Jason? Because remember that one down in Morpeth Vale where you sort of, the vendor eventually pulled it off the market. Do you remember that one where we sort of could have got it at like 570 or something, where we were the second or third bidder? And then they thought about it and they said, no, we're going to develop this ourselves. Do you see much retain and builds, or are they pretty much as rare as hen's teeth still?
No, I'm seeing a bit of both in all realism. They'd be doing an injustice to, and this is where Marci and I fight a little bit in terms of there's certainly an off-market opportunity for that stuff. I want to share a real life example, and it's one that Joe helped Joe, for complete transparency, Joe, myself, Ross and Marci have had a very long-standing relationship in terms of some of the mutual clients that we share. I've got a real-life example to share with you. One of our mutual clients, with Joe's help, bought a house in Morpeth Vale in May of 2023, 509,500. It was
at auction as well, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep. Good memory. 720 square meters. We had a couple of hard work tenants at the beginning who made our life a misery while we were trying to do the subdivision, but we have finally got title and hammerheaded the rear block. I have put a new kitchen in the front house and given it some fresh paint and gotten it ready for market. The mutual client is building a brand new house with Ross and Marci's help in the back, in the hammerhead or the battle axe. However, I have just this week secured a buyer on the front house. We put it on for 699 to 729. I had 2 opens. The first one had 37 groups through. The second one had 9. And we've achieved 748,500.
Wow. Jeez. How much does the build cost? Can I ask how much the build is? Like 400, 450, 500 or?
No. 3 bed, 2 bath, 360 to 380.
360? Jeez, you guys are cheap in South Australia, man. Yeah. I mean, that's...
Marci doesn't want the competition.
But also, Jeff, depends on where you're buying, which builder are you using, and if you go a single story or double story.
Of course.
Remember, everything is expensive, Sydney. Mate, that's what Sydney people are coming to Adelaide.
Wollongong as well. It's you're not building much for under 500,000 here, but it's because it's higher cost of living. I like it. That's a great example, and to the flipping and developing that we asked. I want to go regional because it's a little bit outside of maybe. I know Marci loves a bit of regional sort of action. And Jason, I sort of called you or tagged you in a post, and you said, "Yeah, let's chat to a little bit." A couple of people have mentioned like Murray Bridge. Like I think that's on the border, is it not close to sort of rougher or maybe halfway? I don't know. I'm thinking border town. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
You're thinking of
Gawler. Is that person spelled wrong? Is there a Gawler and a Goal? Goolla?
There's Gawler and Galway. So Gawler is easiest way is Gawler's about an hour north of the city. Galway is approximately an hour south of the city. So
okay, yeah.
Galway is where people go to die, like it's a retirement village, for want of a better word. However, we're seeing some growth.
Yep.
Gawler is going to boom because talking again about that endless supply of land in the north between Manapara and Gawler, my parents, so I grew up in a suburb called Evanston Park, and I say grew up, we went there when I was in my late teens, and it was on the cusp of being a country town, and now it's just gone crazy. The other one that fits into the Gawler is Mount Barker, and Mount Barker has also boomed. Murray Bridge, I don't know an awful lot. I know you know a bit more, Marci, so I'll hand over to you in a second. There is an increased element of, I want to say, recreational drug use in Murray Bridge.
In the town.
It is joked about that it is the ice capital of South Australia, Murray Bridge, but I don't know enough personally, so that is just rumour. But I know you quite like Murray Bridge, Marci, so I'll let you.
And Mount Gambier, everybody's talked up Mount Gambier, and then there's even like if we go and start going into Port Lincoln. So I know we've talked about Adelaide, we're talking about way outside of Adelaide here. Cool. But so Mount Gambier, Marci, and Murray Bridge, what are your thoughts on those particular areas? Is there still
Murray Bridge definitely, it was great 2 or 3 years ago. If it would have that wouldn't be the bottom of the cycle. Nowadays, in the way that I was watching that market is it was like going crazy, like over the asking price. Obviously, you got like a big blocks and all of those kind of sort of things. But to be honest, the market has slowed down. Like now properties are selling within the price range and it's a little bit less competition. You actually now are able to bargain with the agent, get off market, get the first ride. Whereas like 2 years ago or even 3 years ago, that's no way. Lucky if they pick up the phone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely a slowdown on Murray Bridge. And also I think like newish investors like, oh my gosh, this is so cheap and a big block of land. Let's do this and let's do that.
5.5%, 6% yield probably still.
Oh, wow, this is great. And yeah, this is great if you want to live and you're tired, like, retirement, like fun, close to the city. But, I see, believe it or not, this going to sound crazy, better fundamentals in development in Mount Gambier than even in Murray Bridge. That Murray Bridge is not far away from us. That is crazy because of the type of people who wants to live in there.
Okay.
So this is that's it.
great insights. I like it. So I'm going to take us to we're going to talk about where I'm going to throw some price points out there to Jason.
Let me just quickly go back. So Murray Bridge, I don't know much about. Port Lincoln, we've got a great business owner, fellow Harcourt's business owner, Daniel Eremaya. He knows Port Lincoln better than anyone I know and's got businesses all along there. So he'd be someone to reach out to if the coast up there has of any interest to you. Whyalla is also really well performing as a regional centre. There's some controversy because the smelter has been in and out of financial hardship, but you can still buy really good buying in there. And then a gentleman who I've got a long-standing relationship with, Patrick Nim, who's a successful Adelaide agent, has bought a really decent business in Mount Gambier, and he'd be someone to reach out to. I did promise in the chat earlier in the week that I'd share some names of people, so they're the people that our viewers would want to have a chat to.
There we go. I'm gonna throw some price points at it because I would love to hear if I had a budget and if I was interested in Adelaide, where are the potential opportunities? So if you want to increase this price point, if I'm being too ambitious, 500 to 700. 500, is that too low these days in Adelaide? Can I get anything? Can I get a freestanding house in Adelaide for 500, or is that even in Devron Park? Have we moved past that? Or Elizabeth South, your favourite spot? No, it's not your favourite spot, Jason, but 500, 700. Are we buying anything in Adelaide worthwhile at that price point for a house?
Great question. Well, let's start with the fight then in and around a house versus a unit, because there's still great opportunity in some great suburbs. And if you had that 500 to 700,000, I would challenge you to consider a large unit in a very small block in a central location. Paraka, Ingle Farm, those 20 minutes north of the city, you'll get great units in and around the $600,000 in small blocks with really low strata fees that yield exceptionally well with great tenants. I would deeply consider that if I had $600,000 to spend. However, you can still get Torrens titled townhouses that are joined at the walls in suburbs such as Smithfield, Manapara, Blakeview, in and around the 580 to 650 for 3-bed, 2-bath. So as long as you're not craving a huge parcel of land, that's really good. You can still get a good semi or duplex in those Elizabeths in and around the 550 to 600. Again, they yield okay. They're really cheap to renovate, because they're solid brick. To put a new kitchen in those is sub 10,000. Freshen up the bathroom with a new vanity, new towel rails, polished floorboards, fresh paint. You can have it looking pretty schmick with change from 20 grand. It would yield really well. So I'd do that. In the south, non-existent at that price.
Not even Hackham or not even Huntfield Heights.
No,
that's
darling.
Oh yeah, well,
under 700 grand. No,
okay. Not under. Not even like 695. Anyway, sorry.
750.
Yeah, 300 square meters block for sure. Okay. Yes, you can get
it. 250 square meters, 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 750 maybe.
Yeah. Okay, damn, it has moved. It has moved on. Okay, 700 to 900. I'm increasing the budget because this is like some people are starting to stretch to that. Where are we kind of looking? Are we stretching out to the west for that sort of price point? And where are we seeing some opportunities at that price point?
That's a great question. And again, I'm going to use a real example, and you alluded to this earlier in the conversation. You'll recall in October 1 of last year, the low deposit scheme in South Australia was increased from 750 to 900,000. We have seen a boom in the market in the northeast, but if you had that 7 to 900, I still am an enormous fan of Paralowie and Morphett Vale. I've always loved them. I've put tons of my own money into those suburbs. I've put tons of my clients' money into those suburbs. They yield well. They've got really great access to the north-south motorway, etc. And those will exist till the end of time, whether or not 900 is still the cap. But right now, you can still get some great buying at that price point. But in the northeast, now I'm talking 850 to 900, maybe a splash over. I would consider suburbs like Ridgehaven, Modbury North, Modbury Heights, Valley View, although you're probably close to 950 at this stage. St Agnes. I love all of those suburbs. In the south, Morphett Vale's still good. You can still get a 3-bed, 1-bath, sub 900 in Woodcroft. Woodcroft's a great suburb. Ranella's a great suburb. If you're happy to buy a cookie cutter product, you'll get a really big 4-bed, 2-bath in Aldinga Beach. Marci, I won't take all the limelight. I'll give you an opportunity.
Go for it.
Bursting.
I love
He wants to
it.
tell us.
No. Keep going. I love it because this is awesome.
So look, in addition to that, Christie's Beach has skyrocketed in South Australia. And when I was a kid, like when I was a tiny kid, I first grew up in Hackham West. And funnily enough, back when I was 5 and 6, Hackham West was a good suburb, and if someone had given you a house in Christie's Beach free, would have been too expensive. Do you know what I mean? And now if you're on 650 square meters and above in Christie's Beach, then there's every chance you won't get it for 900,000. But it does put the poor cousins in the play. So Christie Downs is still booming and it's got huge development opportunity, although when you take into consideration Christie Downs, and this is where Marci will add her bit, is we do have a retaining wall issue in Christie Downs because it's a bit hillier than Christie's Beach. O'Sullivan Beach, which you know Ross loves to pieces, like he lives and breathes O'Sullies. There's still opportunity in and around that 900 grand. The suburbs that are going to go a little bit crazy, I think we're going to see huge growth still in Woodcroft because it's got such incredible access to public schools and private schools. Same with pockets of Ranella. There's a bit of development going on in and around Ranella. So that's all still going crazy, and you can still get stuff at that price point.
I would like to add Jason's comment as well. Like what I've seen on the ground is obviously because Christie's Beach are growing so massively, is taking that ripple effect from Christie's Beach to the suburbs and around. So for example, Christie's Down, there are pockets in Christie's Down that are terrible, that I wouldn't put my money, even if they pay me like 20%, like, you know, my money. And yet properties over there are getting like top dollar, like premium top dollar that you wouldn't think people will pay that much because, you know, the affordability issue that we're living at the moment is like, okay, I prefer to pay in a shittiest part of a suburb, but it's going to take me 5 to 7 minutes to drive from this place to another place, and I won't compromise in a lifestyle. So definitely the suburb that I've seen that are picked it up like so hard and so quickly is Christie's Down. And what else? Hackham West, and definitely Ranella. It become now like a sort of like a premium, so to speak. Like Ranella is becoming like so desirable for people to live because it offers everything. Like you have the green, then you're super close to the beach, you have all the amenities, and it's not as expensive as Christie's Beach. So definitely watch out for that ripple effect within Christie's Beach, thereabouts. Those suburbs are gonna like yield at least double digits this year for sure.
You just got to have a really good property manager. I think some of these pockets, you got to really understand and capital growth is great, but if you've got challenging tenants, you just need to. One thing I will probably ask that in the Q&A a little bit if we've got a few Q&A questions ready. Before we go to our second and last sponsor, I want to know, and I throw Jace first, and we can go across to Marci. Is there any hidden gems left in Adelaide? And that can be, you mentioned like potentially sort of low number of units in a block, but is there, I suppose, either a suburb or a type of dwelling that people are sort of missing because it's an unknown? If we talk about it here, people will discover it quickly, but is there anything that people are missing in Adelaide that they should be considering?
Another great question. And when we talk about the never-ending supply of land in the north, I think there are two suburbs that I've always loved in the north And when I say north, I mean the Playford Council area more so than the Salisbury Council area. And they're often overlooked is Craigmore and Blakeview. Now, there are really strict rules in the Playford Council area around development in those two suburbs because there's such an endless supply of other land. But if you're looking for an older style 90s brick house on a really good sized block that yields correctly and, you know, will traditionally there will always be a spot in the market for tenants and or buyers looking for a backyard and a big man cave, or I heard the term today, a she shed. I think the old section of Blakeview, not Blake's Crossing, the old section of Blakeview and the old section of Craigmore, whilst they are performing exceptionally well, I think they're always going to have a huge demand because they've got easy access to the city down Main North Road. So I would deeply consider those. And then the older pockets of Salisbury, so Paralowie, of course, and Parafield Gardens has boomed. But Salisbury North has always been the poor cousin. And whilst it has boomed, like Marci said, around the Christie Downs, Christie's Beach analogy, there's still huge growth opportunity in Salisbury North because it's still underperforming compared to Paralowie.
And I'll throw to you, Marci, as well, but is there a perception that there's the wrong side and the right side of the highway? Like you got Davron Park, you got Andrews Farm to some extent, Smithfield Plains. Is that the wrong side versus, and wrong, I mean, if you live there, no disrespect, but the right side is your Blakeview, your Craigmore. Is that the way that it's looked at by the locals or not really?
Well, I'm not sure how the locals perceive that part. As an investor and as a developer, I don't like to put my money in Devon Park. It's just that I don't see value in that. Like council regulations, people are taking like super high expectations regarding of the price. The north is being so, you know, booming and you know, all of that. Oh my gosh.
Jason's dog's got an opinion on it. Bring him on the show. What does he think about Davron?
He's this big and he's yapping like a crazy man. I might close the door.
So no, definitely what I see value up north, it will be in all that three plaza, like, you know, council area. But more specifically, I'm so bullish on Salisbury, like Salisbury alone. I just really like that suburb. I see a huge potential in there. And as much as a lot of developers or investors are trying to get in there, it's only going to be so much that we can subdivide in there, that this is it. It's going to be like another, like, rocks. Like, do you remember, like, the one that is up north in Melbourne that is close to Craigieburn? That all that little part of the suburb is
Roxburgh Park, or
yes. That's what I can see, like Salisbury becoming. Like as soon as like everything is developing so much, there's not anything else to go but going in the outskirts. So that's what I'm so bullish to get there right now as a developer.
Okay, look,
that's Salisbury Park, Salisbury Plains, Brahma Lodge is going crazy. I just sold a house in Brahma Lodge, which is the suburb right next to where Marci is talking. We had a development site, 1 into 3, really average or really liberal reserve at 770,000. To be honest, it was a deceased estate, 2 sisters and 2 brothers. The sisters got along, the brothers got along, the sisters and brothers hated each other. I presented an offer of 840,000 prior to auction, which was above the reserve. The sister, who was the executor, said, look, Jason, I would take it, but I just can't have a family dispute. I want a very transparent transaction. We had 18 bidders on the day. 5 of those people were developers who I hadn't met until auction day. They just showed up, and we sold for 910,000. You could have blown me over with a feather.
Yeah, wow. It's interesting, isn't it? Just what's going on with all these grants and all the 5% no LMI as well, which for first home buyers, it's interesting what's happening around Australia, not just Adelaide. Look, we're going to throw some questions. We'll do our last sponsor, and then so throw your questions. This has been a wide-reaching session, so let's get to it. This will be a quick sponsor break, and then we'll get back to it.
Oh, Jeff, I wish there was 3 investing books that covered everything property.
Oh, Joe, there is. Steve has 3 books now.
That I do, guys. I've got 3 books now. You probably don't even have to follow this group anymore. Just kidding. You want to keep seeing and hearing from me, of course, so stay involved. But in all seriousness, if you want to get the full picture of investing, residential, commercial, and development, these 3 books have you covered for the fundamentals. For OzProp members, here's the best part. I'm giving these books to you for free. Just cover the postage and I'll send them right to your door. Go to policyproperty.com or click the link below and get your copies today. You can also get all my spreadsheets, checklists, and resources free on my website. Happy reading, gang.
Here we go. Well done, Steve. And I want to see Joe a bit like that. He's getting there, but we'll see if he is allowed to keep growing it. Well done, Steve, as well. So this is an interesting one. I know that this is Suburb, you probably quite like would love you to know your thoughts on Happy Valley. Only 2 houses for rent currently. What do we think about Jerry's question there about Happy Valley?
I love Happy Valley. I'm very bullish on Happy Valley, especially for development. Like, I will get my money to work very hard in there.
Yeah, it was. Has it been? Because I feel it was a bit uncovered or undiscovered, wasn't it, Jason? Back in 2021 or has
2021, 22, and it still kind of is, and it's a really great question. Happy Valley is the other side of Main South Road is Shido Park, Trot Park, that have always been the great performers, and then at the other back end of Happy Valley, you have Woodcroft. Yep. The Happy Valley section and even the O'Halloran Hill, and I probably like O'Halloran Hill personally a little more than I like Happy Valley, but it depends on your goal. If you're looking to develop, I think there's more opportunity in Happy Valley, but if you're looking for a nice set and forget in a really beautiful suburb, O'Halloran Hill is the one. Both of them have really great access to some really beautiful parks and walking areas. It's a little tougher to get to shopping, but love it.
Yeah, and there's that suburb. I'm just trying to remember the one that we had looked at, a couple that you really liked. I'm just trying to remember which one that was. It was not Woodcroft. It was, and not. I know you like not Happy Valley. There was one that's sort of around that area, not Aberforth Park. I'm just trying to remember.
I love Aberforth Park too. I love it.
Yeah.
Flagstaff Hill.
No, there we go.
Shido Park.
Yeah, it'll come to me.
Hackam West.
No, that's miles away.
Yeah.
No. I'm trying to figure it out which Jeff is trying to refer.
Yeah, no, it was in that the one that I seen to the corner block, and it was I don't know, it was that's okay. I'll come to it. But another question that we've had, which is a great one, I love. This is a question you should be asking probably your property managers, but also your sales agents, and some of them will tell you what buyers are investors versus owner occupied of what you're seeing, Jason.
For me, it's still around 50-50. Like I alluded to before, though, it's mainly first-time buyers and it's mainly investors. I would say the significant proportion of investors are interstate investors. So because when we first started working together a few years ago, Jeff, Adelaide was still sitting at 5.5-6% yield. Now it's 4%, and in some areas it's 3.8. But in 4% yield is still good compared to Melbourne and Sydney, right? So we're seeing a lot of interstate investors in that area. Some downsizes, some upsizes. I think the South Australian Labor government has just pledged some rules around downsizing for senior citizens to get them out of the family home with some stamp duty exemptions. I think that might see a boom in the downsizers, which of course will see a huge boom in the developer market, which watch this space.
Interesting. There you go. So on that point, I wanted to ask the question: what are the I suppose rental legislations looking like in South Australia at the moment? Has much moved since we last spoke about 2 years ago, roughly, or has it become harder for landlords? It has.
It got very hard for landlords, and the biggest impact for landlords was that you couldn't do a no-cause eviction, and you still can't do a no-cause eviction, but you can now. I hate the word eviction in this scenario, but you can now terminate a lease with 60 days notice if there's a sales agency agreement at end of lease, not during a lease, but at end of lease. But when legislation first changed, that wasn't a possibility, and that caused huge chaos for us. That's the biggest frustration around legislation. But other than that, whilst it does favour tenants more than it used to, particularly around subleasing, no cause evictions and pet approval, I still believe with all my heart that we are one of the best landlord-centric markets in Australia. When I talk to, just like I'm such an active member of this community, I'm an active member of some national property management communities, and I think South Australia is still a good place to invest compared to other parts of the country, particularly state investors, because our court system is better for interstate investors than places like Victoria and New South Wales, where interstate investors have no rights.
Yeah, exactly.
So for us, it's still just with a quick phone call, it's diverted to the magistrate court instead of the SACAT. So at least, and whilst the times have dropped, have expanded, it still protects landlords better than other states do.
Yeah. Granny flats, has there been any expansion on, can you rent them separately at the moment, or you still can't do that?
The short answer is yes. It's still a very new thing for us, so I don't have enough information on it. There's still real rules around accessibility. I'd be happy to give it a crack or do the research for people, but I just don't know enough. We are seeing a bit of increase around. I know Marci Ross worked on a few dual lock plans late last year that I know are underway, but it's new for us. It's a new space. So I don't know enough yet, and I don't like to talk about something I don't know a lot about.
No, it's all right. It's all good. Marci, do you have any insight?
There's something I don't know a lot about.
No, that's all right. No, you're saying a lot without actually saying, it sort of tells me that it's not really, it kind of almost think about it like Victoria. They sort of opened up a little bit around the back end of 2022, 2023. And it just hasn't, I don't feel it's really taken off in Victoria yet, like it has in New South Wales, Queensland, WA. Like WA, there's a lot of granny flats going on over there these days.
Mm-hmm.
And Marci,
I think people nowadays, they prefer to build a proper house rather to have a granny flat, because it yields way better. And in terms of cost, granny flat, let's put it like as a ballpark, it's gonna cost them between 200 to 250. If they add another 50 to 80, they have a proper house with two different titles. We can yield way better than putting just a granny flat attached to a dwelling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair point. Just the cost a bit prohibitive, and maybe there's some options. There could be some modular stuff that maybe brings that down, but then still has to meet the standards. So interesting. I think this is probably a one for both of you. I see there are quite a lot of dual living houses in a state. Is that something that you could see taking off in Adelaide? Such a large sprawl across many suburbs, but I see places like Marion. I'm just trying to see what the question goes on to there. What does the person say? Marion, Mile End, etc., that are almost compacting in terms of land size and subdivisions. Is that something you reckon will happen more in Adelaide? Because I saw you secured a couple of sort of off the plan sort of things. Congratulations on that, by the way. But are you seeing more of that stuff happening, Jason? And go to Marci because she'll have insights on that too.
Look, I'm seeing a huge influx in my business, partially with the help of Ross, Marci and Nathan in terms of the amount of developers that are cutting blocks into 1 into 3s and 1 into 4s. So I'm seeing lots of that, but it's still Torrens titled stuff. And to Marci's point, we can still build a house for $350,000. So why are you going to waste your time on a $250,000 lot? So it's not, the yield is so much better for the space of 100,000. And in the suburbs, you may recall, Jeff, me talking, Ross and I did a development on Bells Road in Glengowrie a few years ago. We did a joint venture. Yep. And I personally would put a knife in my neck before I'd develop in Marion Council ever again. Dealing with Marion Council was the most stressful experience of my adult life, and I would never. Now I know Ross still loves it, but that's just me personally. They're trying very, very hard to protect the heritage inside their region, and I actually respect them for it. But whilst I see opportunity, as per the question, I don't know. I'm not the guy that wants to test it because I've had a bad experience. It left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. Good point. No, that's it. And Marci, what are your thoughts? You're seeing, I imagine you're seeing probably quite a lot of opportunity and a lot of that thing happening. Is that something you see continuing to expand out as affordability gets squeezed and they need to rationalize the land? When I say rationalize,
no. I've seen that heaps. Like, what is funny? After the first home buyer, grant, what I've noticed is people don't want to look after a big properties, believe it or not, and they want a small block of land. And especially the downsizers, they want a pretty house, low maintenance with a little backyard, but they can put the chihuahua. I always said it, a little bit of plants now and then, and that's it. That's what they want. And some young families or couple, they want to replicate the same thing. And maybe when they're ready to have a kid, they might consider to upgrade. But to start with, they're not too fast. They don't want those old higher properties. And that's why I think Jason's seen the spike from people that they prefer to buy the raw land or as a house land package, because it's just that emotional take. I'm creating my property. I have a saying. What it could look like, even when all the properties nowadays in South Australia looking quite similar because of these regulations, but it's that emotional attached to it, and that's it.
There you go. So I'm seeing so many. We've had a wide-ranging conversation. We talked about what's going on, what's happening around the grounds, budgets, potential developments. It's been a great show. Look, if you've gotten value from this, give us that 5-star on Spotify, people. I think I want to get us to 100 by the end of this year. So I might even get Marci to give us a 5-star. No, don't do it if you don't feel it, Marci. But thank you both for coming on and you being the guest co-host. Jason, I think there's no. Otherwise, if we could go for questions all night. What is something? I'll finish off and then I'll give you an opportunity to talk about where people can reach out to. What's something that we missed talking about, Jason, that we needed to talk about that we didn't talk about? Talked about a lot, didn't we?
We did talk about a lot. I think where you want to watch your space, I suppose, or my tip is in and around those northeastern suburbs, and we touched on it very briefly, where we're seeing that first home owner low deposit of 900. We are seeing, if you want to knock, and I really love working with first home buyers, but I'm an investor at heart, right? So in and around those suburbs where you want to knock the first home buyer out. My tip would be, if you can stretch 20K over 900 in order, because 903,000, 905,000, any reasonable person is picking the first home buyer over the investor because it makes them feel good. But if you're going 10 to 20 grand above 900, I think those pockets and opportunities are the things that there's still a market for a moment in time here in South Australia.
Yeah, well said. That's the question I probably should have asked, which is on my run sheet. 12 to 18 months. I know we love the crystal balling. We love it as much as, I don't know, waking up early on a Sunday morning. But maybe you do, Jason. I don't know. Maybe you're one of those. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of. But what do we sort of see? Like, do we see it slowing down much at all, or is it full steam ahead at least for the next 12 to 18 months, and then we'll kind of wait and see what happens?
I think serviceability is going to be the only thing that I don't know the answer to that you probably know the answer to better than I do. But I think it's a matter of time before more banks are offering 35 and 40-year mortgages, which will, in some essence, take care of the serviceability problem. I don't see the market slowing down anytime soon, in all reality. Like, we simply demand still outweighs supply. It's as simple as that. But in order to get a huge response, you need to price your property correctly. Scott McFarlane, who's another friend of the show, who's a really great guy, a friend of mine, he always said, price it low, you watch it go, price it high, you watch it die. And I use that analogy all day in my business. And that's not underquoting, that's quite simply pricing it correctly in the market and being realistic. And I think where vendors, because the market has boomed, there's an element of greed about where they position their property, and it's having a really honest conversation with them about where their property sits in order to create the best opportunity for competition.
That's all right. Marci, what are you seeing? I know you're very bullish Adelaide, but is there any not cracks, but what do you sort of see? Like, is it purely just Adelaide for every day of the week, or what are we sort of thinking, Marci?
I think there will be some suburbs that definitely they will grow just because Australian is growing by itself. But there will be suburbs that are gonna double, like they're gonna double in their digits. They're gonna grow double digits, and I will write it down and post it to you, and then we watch in a year's time, because I think those suburbs has a lot of merit, and those suburbs are being driven not by investors, but first home buyers and young family who wants to settle in there. So when those type of people are willing to pay top dollar, and you know that they want to put their roots in there, it's no way that a market like that multiplied by 100, 200, or whatever the case may be, that suburb is not going to boom when there is literally no stock available. So definitely there are suburbs double digits, and there will be others that they will be just okay, but not as crazy as this one that I'm referring to.
You know that 5 to 10% growth is probably more than normal. Like, I think that we've been absolutely spoiled in a lot of Australia for the last 3 to 5 to 6 years. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the next 3 to 5 years holds for Australian property. But on that note, I think it's time for us to say, Jason, if people want to get more of you in their life, where's the best spot to reach out to you? Like, I've got a bit of a spiel, but is this? I hope it lines up with where you want to send them. But where can they reach out to you, mate?
Sure. Look, I'm very active on social media, so you can certainly send me a PM. Sometimes, if you haven't heard from me for a day or two, it's because I forget to check my unsoliciteds behind the scenes. But my mum and I are business owners at Harcourt's Essential in Salisbury in the north. We service the whole of suburban South Australia, from as far south as Aldinga Beach right through to the north in Balaclava. Balaclava is my other favourite regional town.
We didn't talk about it,
we didn't talk about it. Balaclava is one of those suburbs. It's the heartbeat of the mid-north. Great access to public school, private school, great public hospital, really terrific. So I would really consider Balaclava if you've got under $500,000 and you're looking for good yield. I would consider that greatly, and I service that suburb or that regional area. The easiest way to get me is harcourtsessential.net.au.
Yeah, I'll pop that up. That's what I love. You are, I suppose, the person who've done it all in Adelaide. You've done the property manager, you've done renovating, you've done developing, you've now done sales, and you'll be doing probably a little bit of auctioning sort of sooner than later. So for me, you are one of the people who you've got your finger on the pulse, and of course, as Marci said, it's hard to buy off Jason, but you've got an opportunity to have a conversation who's got 10 plus years experience in that market and is eating their own cooking. So thanks for coming on the show and all the support for us, Jace. Marci, thank you for guest co-hosting. You've been absolutely marvelous. What's the best place for people to get more Marci in their life? Because you're in a lot of places at the moment, but where's the best spot?
Yes, I am. Well, they can reach my Facebook, Marce Wild, or Marce W92, my Instagram.
Oh,
so,
Insta.
Yeah, that's it. My Insta, or they know Gambit Development Group. They can find me there, marce@gambit.net.au, and then that's it. Just come find me there.
Yeah, there we go. Somebody just said Chihuahua size boom. I saw that you laughed at that, Marci. There you go. Okay, guys, this has been an amazing session. Thank you very much for coming on. Thanks to the audience for watching. It's been very active and participants in the show and the comments. It's been amazing. Thanks very much, everybody. As Joe likes to sign off with, let's go and look at buying a property in Adelaide. See you, everybody. Thanks, Jason and Marci.
See you guys.